Prayer 1.
Yes.
That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti for 6 months for a total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Nigerian Senate in general to public opprobrium. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye.
Aye.
Those against say nay. I'd put the question. Those in support of prayer 1 say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. How do you amend a prayer that is unanimous? Prayer 2, that for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti shall submit a written apology to the Senate before any reconsideration by the Nigerian Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay. I don't think Senator Baribe, as a landlord of the Senate, I don't think they heard what I read. So let me just repeat for clarity that for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or reducing the tenor of the suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. Those in support of prayer 2 say aye. Those against say nay.
It is adjunct of the legislative process. Accordingly, any investigation carried in the exercise of those powers are constitutional and competent. 4. It is interesting to note that while on one hand, Senator Natasha Akpoti sought in breach to restrain the Senate from doing its constitutional duties under Section 88, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, she also brought a petition to the Senate arguing that her petition on sexual harassment has merit, which must be accepted and acted upon by the Senate. Accordingly, the petition was referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petition for action. The distinguished senator cannot, on one hand, seek to prevent the Senate from doing its duties on a petition based on a motion brought against her, and on the other hand, insist that her petition on sexual harassment to the Senate be acted upon through the Ethics Committee. He who comes to equity, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, must come with clean hands. It is important to note that the motion of Senator Adaramodu seeking investigation on the conduct of Senator Natasha Akpoti was referred to the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct, and Public Petition when there was no case pending in court on the issue of seat allocation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the Senate Committee on Ethics, Privileges, and Public Petition, having due deliberation of the matter as revealed by Senator Adeyemi Raphael Adaramodu, Senator Titus Tatenja Zam, Chamber staff, and the Sergeant at Arms, the committee recommends as follows. 1. That the Senate do suspend Senator Natasha Akpoti for 6 months for her total violation of the Senate Standing Rules 2023 as amended for bringing the presiding officer and the entire Senate in general to public opprobrium. 2. That for the Senate to consider lifting the suspension or to reduce the tenor of suspension, Senator Natasha Akpoti shall submit a written apology to the Senate before the reconsideration by the Senate. 3. That the Senate do suspend Natasha Senator Natasha Akpoti with effect from 6 March 2025 from all legislative activities forthwith. 4. That her office be locked up for the duration of her suspension and hand over all Senate properties in her possession to the clerk of the National Assembly. 5. That for the duration of her suspension, she cannot come or be seen within the vicinity of the National Assembly, including her staff. 6. That her salaries and allowances, including those of her legislative aides, be suspended and withdraw of all security details for the duration of her suspension. And 7. That for the period of her suspension, she be barred from representing herself to the public, locally and internationally, as a Senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. In conclusion, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, my most distinguished and fellow colleagues, on behalf of the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petition, we appreciate the Senate President and our distinguished colleagues for the opportunity granted us to serve Nigerians through the Committee of Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions.
So here is what it is right now. Senator Natasha Akpoti is a victim, and the victim is being victimized. She has been suspended, and the allegation of sexual harassment on Senate President Godswill Akpabio will be swept under the carpet. Now remember that the Senate Ethics Committee, they said that her petition on the Senate President is dead on arrival. That means they are not going to entertain that petition. They are not going to look into it. They are not going to investigate it. Whether it's true or not, Senator Godswill Akpabio will be walking a free man and nothing will be done to him. I really need to understand what is happening. Like, is this really real? Are we really a functional society? Are Nigerians really real people? This is happening and everybody is calm. First of all, let me ask a very important question. Natasha Akpoti is a PDP senator. Are there no more PDP senators on the floor of the National Assembly? Why are they quiet? And a PDP senator is being victimized on the floor of the National Assembly. Not one senator could speak on her behalf. Maybe you all don't understand the consequences of what is happening. We've all been saying that the National Assembly is gone, is captured. But maybe you did not understand the wrath of captured. The National Assembly is dead and gone. There is nothing in the National Assembly. By the way, on what ground are they suspending Natasha Akpoti? Is it for saying that the Senate President sexually harassed her, or for petitioning the Senate President? Remember, they did not look into that petition. So, as it stands now, neither the Senate President nor Natasha Akpoti has been proven innocent or guilty. So, what's the crime of Natasha Akpoti? Every of this move is trying to bully Natasha Akpoti. They want to sweep it under the carpet. This is the normal modus operandum in Nigeria. When something happens, rather than treating it according to the laws of the land, and let the culprit be treated according to the tenets of the laws of the land, they rather want to push it under the carpet. This is the same thing that is happening to Senator Godswill Akpabio. On a normal circumstances, Senator Godswill Akpabio ought to have resigned as the Senate President. This is a grave allegation. It is not something that should be swept under the carpet. This allegation violates the sacrosanctity of the National Assembly. Natasha Akpoti is simply asking the Senate President to refer the matter of sexual harassment to the Ethics Committee on the floor of the National Assembly. The Ethics Committee are in charge of looking into violations on the floor of the National Assembly. But if the Ethics Committee wants to look at a violation that is being committed by the Senate President, then there is 101% sure that they are not going to be impartial in delivering their judgment. There will be a level of favoritism towards the Senate President. This is the reason why the Senate President ought to resign. The National Assembly is not his personal property. The National Assembly do not belong to him. The National Assembly belongs to Nigerians and equally belongs to Natasha Akpoti. Godswill Akpabio being the Senate President is by privilege. At this point, we ought to look at the sacrosanctity of the National Assembly. The National Assembly is sacred. It is where laws are being made. It is where the policies of the executive are being debated. But of course, you know that laws are no longer being made on the floor of the National Assembly anymore. They have turned the National Assembly as a place where they debate their own personal interests. They have turned the National Assembly as a place where they debate the interests of the president, no longer the interests of the Nigerian people. That is why they are treating the National Assembly with disregard and contempt. This whole incident on the floor of the National Assembly is a disgrace to the National Assembly and also a disgrace to Nigeria. It is destroying the image of Nigeria in international community. Akpoti as a Senate president should know that Nigeria's image is at stake currently, and this matter should not be swept under the carpet. Let an impartial body look into this matter of sexual harassment and let they pass their judgment accordingly. We can no longer allow people who think that Nigerian belong to them. We can no longer allow people who are only concerned about their personal interests to ruin this nation for every one of us. We should be debating about policies. We should be debating about moving this country forward. Nigeria is currently at the precipice. Nigerians are going through the most excruciating period in their life. Nigerians are facing the worst inflation in the history of this country. The price of commodities have gone over the roof. Interest rate is at all-time high. The National Assembly ought to be a place where they can call the president to order, invite the president to come and explain how he's running his policies, to come and explain how his policies so far has added miseries on Nigerians, to come and explain what he has used the money that was recovered from the removal of oil subsidy for. The National Assembly run checks and balance on the president. The National Assembly debates the policies of the president. The National Assembly make laws that are favorable to the Nigerian people. The National Assembly defend the rights of the Nigerian people. They are the representative of the people. But so far, they are not doing any of this. All we keep hearing is allegation of sexual harassment. All we keep hearing is budget padding. What exactly are they doing on the floor of the National Assembly? Absolutely nothing. This is a disgrace. This is a shame. We cannot continue running a nation like this. If the National Assembly is up and running, if the National Assembly is doing their job, I can tell you for a free, the president would have been held accountable. The president would have been on a national television telling Nigerians why the policies he said he's implementing is taking a very long time to add meaning to their life. The president would have been on a national television telling Nigerians how much have been recovered so far from the oil subsidy and where the money has gone to, whether they have reinvested the money or if they've saved the money into the Nigerian External Reserve. The president would have been explaining to Nigerians why exactly are we experiencing inflation. Take for instance Donald Trump. Donald Trump is on Twitter every day telling Americans what he is up and running, his policies, what he has done so far. He is constantly updating Americans on what he is doing as the president. That is because they have a robust National Assembly or a Congress that will hold the president accountable if anything go amiss. But here in Nigeria, the president, the executive, will do anything and go scot-free. Take for instance the Lagos-Calabar Coastal Highway. This is a monstrous project. This is a project that will gulp down 15 trillion naira. Nigeria ought not to have gone into this project in the first place. There are many things that Nigeria would have invested that money into. For instance, the power sector or rehabilitating our existing road. Investing half of this money into any of these projects would have boosted Nigeria's economy and Nigerians would have benefited from it massively. But no, the president decided to embark on a white elephant project, a project that will benefit Nigeria if it is actually completed in the next 30 years. The reason why he did all of this is because we have a docile National Assembly, a National Assembly that is not loyal to the wish and needs of the people, but rather loyal to the wish and the needs of the president. Rather than doing what they were elected to do, they are involved in discussing about sexual harassment. Of what benefit is this discussion of sexual harassment to the Nigerian people? The time they would have had to debate policies, to make laws that will benefit the Nigerian people, they are using it to discuss about sexual harassment, and Nigerians are watching the drama and they are clapping and discussing about it. What a shame. Are we going backward as a nation or we are going forward as a nation?
We need to set our priorities right and say enough is enough to these men and women that are dragging us backwards in this country. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.